I'd like to call this meeting to order. First item on the agenda is to review and approve minutes. We have minutes from March 19th, 2024 and January 21st, 2025. Has everybody had a chance to read those minutes?
Yes.
Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the minutes for March 19th, 2024 and January 21st, 2025.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next item is to sign bills.
Here's one bill for the community advocate.
All right, on to meetings and hearings. We have two continued hearings till April 21st, 2026, and that they are the public hearing regarding notice of intent filed by Tom Colbert on behalf of Grow Venture Capital Group, 1 Mercantile Street, Suite 630 Worcester, for the construction of mixed-use development, including 12,000 square feet of commercial development and 2 residential apartments buildings, as well as associated parking, sidewalks, stormwater, infrastructure, utilities, and landscaping and demolition at 525 Hartford Turnpike. That will be continued to April 21st. And the next one that's continued is the public hearing regarding the notice of intent filed by Sam Adams on behalf of Spectacular LLC, 378 Maple Ave, for the construction of 8 commercial retail buildings, 5 residential use buildings, associated access drives, parking areas, and utilities at 331 and 335 Maple Ave. That also will be continued to April 21st, 2026. And our first item on the agenda is the continued public hearing regarding the request for determination of applicability filed by Mark Lambert, 41 Camptown Road, West Boylston, Mass, for the removal of 1 tree and trimming of others at 45 Bayview Drive. Is there somebody here for this?
He's on the screen.
No, that's Doug. Doug's for a different hearing.
Okay.
So what do you want to do with this?
I have not heard anything from this applicant. I don't know if we want to hold it to the end and see if anything
Okay.
magically appears.
So hold this to the end and then make a decision whether we close it or
Sounds good. Or-
we continue public hearing regarding the request for determination of applicability filed by Shovel Van Ruin, 93 South Quincy Ave, Shrewsbury, for the installation of a raised garden beds, plantings at 93 South Quincy Ave. I did.
At last hearing, you talked,
And your name and address.
oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
My name is Cheryl Van Zylen. I live at 93 South Quinsigamond Avenue in Shrewsbury. And at the last meeting, I had presented a drawing without realizing that I could not go closer than 40 feet
Yeah.
to the brook that runs through my property. So we made some adjustments. We couldn't do the actual measurements because it was kind of covered up with a lot of snow. But I did submit something where we will not be going any closer, actually probably anything more than 40 feet once we start doing the install. And I did include, if you can go down a little bit, some different types of raised beds that I went and looked at for that area, which are not permanent. And if those are not, feasible, we'll just work with some edging or something on that line. But those are all above bed grounds and can be removed at need and no ground disruption at all.
Okay. Emily?
Was there a crossing, is that part of the application, do we know?
The first part I put in for a portable bridge over that area because again, too, it's, move it when it needs to be moved because it does drain Jordan Pond into Lake Quincy like it's doing right now. And we found one that would support a sufficient amount of weight, but as needed to be, it could be moved as needed. So
How is it secured?
we put it in just using, spikes in the ground, some type that will go into secure it. It would not be concrete blocks or any type of permanent structure in it. So that was on the initial application too, so.
I think that's it.
Diane?
Yeah, so that's made out of metal, right?
It is, yes. Yes.
Okay. And when you build the raised beds, what type of wood will that be?
The raised beds, this is mostly commercially available. I do not know what type it is actually, but it's something that has supposedly at least like a 10-year life cycle, so I'm not sure what it is. I just was doing research and trying to find different things that could be used. We put raised beds in our house back in the West Coast, and we used redwood because that was, well, that was common out there. It was very common. So it would be something, we'll have to look and see what's,
So it would be best if the wood
uh-huh.
hadn't been treated with chemicals?
Yes, no pressure treated wood. We'll not use that at all.
Okay,
Um,
just wood.
Yeah, just wood, and, these things usually have some type of metal corners that will hold them together.
Yep.
They're pretty easy to put together, so,
Okay, that's my only question.
okay.
Bob?
No questions.
Chris?
Questions for me?
Leah?
I have no questions.
All right. I don't have any questions
Okay.
either. Somebody like to make a motion with regard to this application?
Chairman, I make the motion that we issue a voting determination with respect to this request. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're all set.
Okay, thank you.
Adjourn.
We're gonna move,
Yes, notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 4 of the Town of Shrewsbury Wetlands Bylaw and Regulations that Wayne Haddad, 109 Hartford Turnpike, Shrewsbury, Mass. Has filed a request for determination of applicability for the removal of trees at 109 Hartford Turnpike.
Hi, I'm Matthew Haddad, or Matthew Sabrin. I'm representing Wayne Haddad. I work for Fatma Tree. Wayne's skiing and he's on vacation, so he couldn't make the meeting. There are some photos of the trees we're looking to take down. Out on Route 20, there are two black locusts. There to the front right. There in the back with a circle on it is a elm. Maple in between the house, and there's a shed that can't be seen because of the canopy. And then there are 3 other maples and 4 other black locusts in there. Wayne's had a problem with the insurance company who insures the home, needs to remove the overhanging branches. Pruning's really not a good option. These trees are old and they've never really been worked on. There's rot, there's encapsulated bark joints. There's just a lot of problematic features. He's willing to replant with native species. My recommendation would be after the tree work's done, we could see how many stems or stumps we could leave high for habitat and carbon capture. And at that point, we'd know how many trees to replant. I know there's about 4 that can't be left high. So he was thinking birch species, maybe a paper birch or river birch, or maybe some blueberries. He'd be willing to do more blueberries per stem than tree to tree ratio. The work would be done with a telehandler, which would grab, cut, and lower the material to the ground. So there's really no disruption to the lawn or anything that would cause any erosion. Yeah, I think that's it.
Are you going to leave the stumps?
Yeah, there's there's at least half of them that can be left. One of the reasons also beyond the insurance company, 2 of the black locusts are right on the driveway. The driveway is a single car length. So when you drive in, you have to back out onto Route 20. So he wants to do something with that space, at least to be able to turn the cars to get them to drive out. Those 2 I know can't be left. No stumps can be left on that. There's a maple next to the garage that probably isn't a good candidate to be left. And there's an arborvitae that isn't a good candidate to be left. So I know 4 have to get replanted, and then the other, we could see if we can leave them high, and if we can, maybe, 5, 6, 7 feet off the ground, we can.
So are you gonna do any other work other than removing the stumps? Are you going,
Just the trees.
you're not gonna put any driveway in, you're not gonna do any, he's not gonna do any work on the site other than?
If that happens, he's gonna come back to the meeting. Right now, it's kind of just like clearance to be able to see out and to be able to like spin the nose of your car when you get out.
So you're gonna remove around 10 trees total?
Yes.
All right, Emily,
I have no questions.
Diane?
No, I'm really thrilled that, we put in native trees.
Yep.
So I'm just out of curiosity, will these be just little whips, or will they be like a 2 1/4 caliber?
Yeah, I would say somewhere around a 2-inch caliper would be my guess. Something that's established. And one of the other reasons why I didn't want to just pick species to go in immediately, I wanted to kind of see the area once the trees are cleared to make sure we're picking the right species. Because no one wins if you put in a little tree and it struggles and in 2 years it's dead. So I think it's going to be important. The property has quite a slope off of the highway, and it's a very dark yard. So that was one thing I kind of warned him about, that some species that aren't really shade tolerant probably shouldn't be put in there. So I think once the trees are removed this spring, we can come up with a plan and we could report back to you guys what species and get a thumbs up, or if I need to come back to a meeting, I'd be happy to do that.
Well, that's really nice. And then, so it's just important to make sure that the trees are taken care of for like 2 to 3 years so that they survive.
Yes. Yep.
And deer maybe, and maybe rabbits, something to protect these guys?
Yeah, we could put a screen around the trunk, or, yeah, something like that.
Okay.
The idea would be to make these trees a part of the landscape, we want them to grow and he wants them to grow.
Yeah.
So we'll do everything we can to ensure that.
Thank you.
No, I looked at the trees, I mean, most of them looked in rough shape, so I think pretty much you're gonna have no trees left in the other thing, you pretty much cut every tree down on our property, so I think it's a good idea to make sure we get something back in yet.
Yep.
No additional questions. You just say you replant, but I didn't hear how many you replant. Is it?
I know 4 initially need to be replanted because they don't have a good stump option.
Okay.
And then I can report back if there's anything that
Okay.
we're seeing it and we don't think it's a good option to leave high.
A minimum of 4.
Yes.
Okay.
And if we did blueberry bushes, I mean, what would an acceptable ratio be? Would you want 2 or 3 per tree?
Probably 3 to 1 of blueberry.
Yes.
I'm looking at the plant people. Diane knows more about plants than I do, but 3 to 1 maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be fine.
Okay.
Yep, we'd be happy with that.
Oh, yeah?
Could you go over the number of trees again? I'm sorry. So there's the 2 black locusts that are adjacent to the driveway.
One of those is very questionable if it's like right at the.
Yeah, that
the
one of them I
border.
think is located beyond probably the 100-foot buffer zone, so I don't know if we could require that a replacement tree is planted. And then there's the 1 arborvitae out there as well.
Yeah, along the side of the driveway, maple on the side of the shed, 2 small maples underneath that row of black locusts.
Okay.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 in total, 10 that are in the buffer zone.
fair enough. So just 3 black locusts in that line along the edge that needed to be,
Yeah, those are the ones with the rot spots and the
Okay.
problems.
I know there have been kind of some questions about, who might own those black,
Yes,
like
so-
the additional ones, are we just leaving those ones that might be
The,
other property?
there's 1 or 2 that do originate from right on the property line.
Okay,
If we cut them with high stumps,
okay,
we're gonna know that we've cut them over the transition between the properties.
okay,
So all the cuts will be made on Wayne's side of the property.
okay. Perfect. Yeah, I would just recommend, that the commission get an idea of how many, are being, what, I can go back out there if we want to get an idea of which ones have been left with high stumps and how many trees need to be replaced.
Okay. Do you have a
Maybe
condition on that?
we should condition it up to a certain amount, and then, if, say, whatever the amount is, we'll condition it up to a certain amount of trees and blueberries.
Mhm.
And then if it's something in between there, just make that decision.
Yeah, I also don't know if the commission would like a condition related to like a,
Monitoring,
sorry.
or?
Yeah, we could, yeah, maybe some monitoring or just a, if we don't just want to see all blueberry bushes or all, like, if we don't just want to see all blueberry bushes, we might want to see a mix of, if we allow blueberry bushes to replace the trees, we might want to see a requirement that at least 2 or something be replaced
Still do a minimum
as
number
trees.
of trees.
Yeah,
Yeah.
could we do a 50-50 ratio at the max?
Yeah,
I'm with you, I think you should have some trees there too, right?
Yeah. yeah, so if the plan right now is to replace 4 trees, maybe 2 can be replaced with trees and 2 can be replaced with 6 blueberry bushes for the 2.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, you all set?
I do believe so.
All right, any other questions from anybody in the audience? Any other questions from the commission? Somebody like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we issue a negative determination with the building with the condition that of the 11 trees removed, at least 2 trees be planted to replace the 4 that are within the buffer zone. I'm sorry, the 4 that are, let me start over. Negative determination with the condition that as many tall stumps be left, high stumps be left as feasible, at least 2 trees be planted, and we're replacing 4 trees, and 3 bushes could be used to replace each of 2 trees. I think I said that correctly. So basically, 2 trees and 6 bushes at a minimum. So as many as 4 trees.
I thought you said that you wanted 4 trees initially.
4 trees are the ones that we definitely cannot leave a high stump. All the rest, I think, are good candidates for a high stump.
Oh,
Yeah,
understood.
that's what I had to say.
All right, somebody make
Second.
second. All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We have a continued public hearing regarding the notice of intent filed by Erica Lerner on behalf of the Mass DOT Highway Division 10 Complex Plaza Room 7360 Boston, Mass. for roadway improvements, including roadway reconstruction, widening, and construction of shared use path along Route 20 from South Street connected to the Route 9. Vote.
How are you? I'm Melissa Seifert from HNTV.
Colin White, 2010 TV.
Since the last time we spoke, we submitted our comment responses to Mass DEP. We haven't heard anything back from them at all. We don't know if we've had or if we can take additional questions.
Have we heard back from DOT?
I have not heard back from DEP regarding the response to comments.
Okay, so I guess we're kind of waiting on that. I believe
Well,
the staff has, needs a little bit more time to review these plans as well. They had some questions.
Okay.
Okay. Emily, do you have something to add?
Yes, it's typical that once comments are issued, it's up to the commission to decide whether or not the applicant has addressed DEP's comments sufficiently. So we'll issue a comment letter and then it's up to the commission. We won't comment further unless we see something like egregious.
Okay. So can you just say what you addressed towards the conditions, so we're
Yeah.
clear on that?
Definitely. So to kind of walk through their comments, they just wanted further description about what was proposed within the streams. And essentially, we had determined that we're impacting streams are the culvert extensions and then the proposed retaining walls. And then basically what we're doing is to maintain channel stability, natural flow conditions, and end up with a smooth transition from the culvert wall to the natural stream bed. So that's kind of what's happening in there. We're putting stream bed material and doing some grading in there just to match everything, make sure everything is there. We added some additional sheets just to kind of further define that. Their second comment was just adding additional sheets separate from the environmental impact plans, which we've included, so hopefully everything is much clearer. One of their comments was the extension for culvert C didn't line up with the stream. That's been addressed, and we've further defined where the transition is, that we will be creating a channel that transitions from the new culvert location to the natural stream. So we just added some sheets to better represent that as well. One of their comments regarding the outlet at Walnut Street, the culvert there, will be implementing natural stream bed material. I think initially it was just labeled as stone for pipe ends, so we're changing it to natural stone. Let's see. There's just some flag. They had a comment on the delineation at Walnut Street. Some of the flags didn't line up exactly with the existing culvert, so we shifted those flags and modified our impacts accordingly. Let's see. They had requested that we reduce the 8-foot wide shared use path. Sorry, yes, thank you. 10-foot shared use path to an 8-foot. Essentially, if you want to assess that, it's a long.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
we'll make a response. Yeah, there were two areas where I wondered if we could go from 10 feet to 8 feet for the width to cut down a little bit of impacts. The shared use path width throughout the project has been designed with the minimum width of 10 feet. According to design guidelines, a section of 8-foot shared use path width should only be implemented for physical obstructions and requires approval of MassDOT complete streets. So 10 foot is really what they're saying is the minimum, unless you got something in the way, okay, you can do 8 foot around it. So the 10-foot minimum shared use path has been established based on safety considerations, multiple user types for this shared use path, and should really be maintained unless, I think, quoting, severe conditions are present. So our intent is to keep the 10-foot shared use path in these locations.
So in the locations where they asked that to be narrow, was that in a wetland area? Did it have an adverse effect to where the wetlands are, or any more filling?
It was in a wetland location.
Perhaps maybe you guys could take a second look at that, and maybe in that area you could do that to minimize the impacts to the wetlands. Because that is something that's, I would say, important. That
Yes, we've looked at this extensively and have considered wetlands throughout the whole project duration. It's been like 3 years or more now. The cross section of the roadway, we've taken steps to narrow the full cross section so that wetland impacts were minimized as much as possible. Things we have to consider, and we have looked at this in depth even before the comment was made, but also again after the comment was made in order to come up with this response. I met with MassDOT. We talked about what the implications might be. You know, there's safety considerations for this too, just because there's some guardrail there. Location of guardrail is important in terms of how far off the roadway it is, important for safety. And strongly feel that we need to keep 10 feet in those areas. I'm not sure if there's anything more that we could really assess than we've already done. So, not sure where that leaves us, but
All right.
Maybe some additional publication or something.
We'll have to discuss that.
Yes.
Just to continue, they were at 2 locations, which we had a permanent impact at P5 and at a temporary impact at T3. They just were questioning why the impacts were there, and essentially it was due to the stream realignment at that culvert location. We've addressed that. We've added some extra context just to make that clear as well. Along some of the walls as well, we had listed out some permanent impacts, and DEP had requested that we relook at those and see if they'd be able to be restored in certain locations. We were able to do that at P11, P13, and P14, and we are adding some plantings such as willow, elderberry in those areas as well. Their other one was just designating land underwater underneath the roadway through the culvert at a couple locations, which we've done. They had also requested groundwater data, boring logs for SEM2, which we've provided in the packet. And we did find that there was no groundwater, no modeling evidence of seasonal high groundwater as deep as 10 feet. And we've attached the boring log for that information. They had requested we make some changes to the frequency of the maintenance, operation of the maintenance plan, which we've done, and this was a discussion with DEP for 401, because it was a consistent comment. They had requested we look at stormwater control measure 1. They indicated that the clearing and grubbing within 5 feet of the bank and riverfront area, and they cited 10.584D1A to indicate that structural stormwater management measures may be allowed in riverfront area only when no practical alternative is present. And they requested that we shifted the outfall of SCM1 away from Little Bummets Brook. So we did perform an alternatives analysis to identify locations where the right-of-way limits are more expansive. We had identified 8 such locations, but ultimately these other 8 locations were considered infeasible for reasons outlined in the stormwater management report, which was submitted with the original application. We also identified, the analysis also identified 2 SCMs that were more performant viable, which were the ones that we presented in the plans. Similarly, same comment on SCM2, and we did consider this and we looked at it again, but we're constrained by an elevation of the basin there, and it would require us to essentially encroach even further, just closer to the brook. And the last one was just looking at opportunities to replant areas that were temporarily disturbed during construction. So we did, and we've added some seedlings throughout our temporary impacts.
Thank you. Emily, do you have any questions?
Not at the moment.
Diane?
Yeah, I just have a logistics question. This widening goes underneath the Route 9 overpass, right? No.
No.
What am I looking at there?
It does not go that far. We do go into Northborough slightly, just for continuing a sidewalk to
Okay.
a driveway. But it basically stops at that ramp to go east.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay, so here's my question. If you do all this widening and you allow for people to ride their bikes or to walk, they can only go that far.
Yeah,
They can't go anywhere else.
yeah.
And so there's, I mean, who's gonna ride their bike there? Who's gonna walk there?
Yeah, yeah. Part of MassDOT's initiative is to provide accommodations for all types of users for each of their projects as they, you know, go around trying to fix the roads. So that includes bikes and pedestrians. So we'll have a sidewalk on the north side of Route 1 and this shared use path, which is wider on the south side. Where those terminate is definitely a big point of conversation
Yeah,
throughout the design process.
Because, I mean, if I were on a
Right.
bike,
So,
I would get that far and
yeah.
I'd just stop because I can't go under that bridge.
Right, right. So what we've done is provide a way to cross the road if they want to go into Shrewsbury Commons, is that? No, I'm sorry. The shopping
Village?
center, Shrewsbury Village Shopping Center, right there if they want. And then on the other side of the project, which is at the Signal, South Street and Green Street, Signal there, a way for them to cross the street as well to get onto the correct side of the road if you're a bike and just continue along however they would normally nowadays.
Along-
And hopefully, the next,
Along Route 20 or along,
yeah, yeah. We wish we could do like a miles-long project to continue this, but I think the idea is that when the next project comes along for the next section, you know, then that would continue the shared use path and sidewalks so that eventually we get a whole connected network.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Ron?
Just because of the plans and the question about the width of the sidewalk and stuff like that, I think maybe peer review, have some good peer review on all this stuff. Is that something you'd be agreed to?
Peer review for the sidewalk?
The project itself, the plans, the project, the widening of the sidewalk, the width of the sidewalk, the wetlands.
MassDOT does not, sorry, by the way, Kevin Thompson with Mass DOT. We don't typically pay for third-party peer reviews unless specifically requested by DEP. If DEP feels that's necessary, we'd be happy to. But at this point, that has to do so.
Okay, that's up. Chris?
No questions at this time.
Maria?
Our newest town engineer had an opportunity to start review today. I know, as you mentioned, this project has been ongoing for several years and it's been through many stages of development. And previous staff for the town had extensive opportunities to review the project, but the staff for the commission might ask that our new town engineer, who is just getting roped into this project and was not there for any of those meetings, had a little additional time to review, especially with the new plans that came in and the responses to DEP comments, and the significant amount of stormwater related stuff coming through, because I can't imagine that you guys are subject to a stormwater permit through the town either.
No.
So, so we need a little bit more time for staff to review this, we would be amenable to that, giving us another month to look at it. We're still waiting for these things to, well, they didn't make the comment, but they don't. Okay, got it. But staff needs a little bit more time, since we had people change.
Yeah, we've really got to meet our ad date, which is in June,
So you should be fine.
with no further, depending on, you know.
Well, I'm sure if
changes.
staff has any questions, they can reach out to you with any any concerns.
Sooner the better, for sure.
Prior to the next meeting, and if you can address them if they have any.
Yeah.
And they may not, because it's been reviewed quite a bit. But
Mm-hmm.
just because we have a new town engineer, we'd like to take a look at it. I think we owe him an open that.
Next meeting was April 21st.
Okay.
Staff might reach out with his review today. He was trying to fill in on obviously these years of, and a lot of other turnover, so we might reach out to have a discussion outside of the meeting to kind of bring our side of the staff kind of up to date on the tremendous history of the project condensed into a plan set and one single application, so that we can kind of expedite some of those questions. So we can reach out to see if it would be feasible to kind of do an additional chat.
Yeah, definitely, sooner the better, I know there's, 2 months between April and June, but that's not a lot of time to do much work, if anything, comes with these reviews, so.
Absolutely.
So we'll be continuing this. You asked for continuance, okay. So we'll continue this to our next meeting, which is April 21st. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have a new hearing. Notice is hereby given in accordance with provisions of general laws, chapter 131, section 40 of the town of Shrewsbury wetland bylaws and regulations. That Tito Conservera, 124 Memorial Drive, Shrewsbury, Mass. Is filed for an after-the-fact notice of intent for the construction of a tennis court, retaining walls, and associated site work, as well as replication of wetland resource areas at 124 Memorial Drive.
Good evening. I'm Kate Wilkins from Epitech, environmental scientist, and I'm here with Sheetal Tvar, who's the applicant and property owner. So we met with the commission last December to discuss our findings from our site evaluation relative to an enforcement order that was issued by the commission that was related to activities associated with the construction of a tennis court. So I'll quickly summarize that discussion. So we did a site evaluation in October to determine the extent of wetland alteration that might have occurred. And based on that evaluation, we could tell that some disturbance had occurred, but we couldn't tell exactly how much because of the tennis court being there and a lot of vegetation being cleared. So what we ended up doing was looking back at old filings, historic filings with the town. Aaliyah luckily was able to help us with that. And we found back in 2000, a notice of intent was filed for a three-lot subdivision for the house construction on this lot. And that plan from that NOI had a wetland delineation back in 2000. That was approved by the commission. And so that's the most recent filing that we have. And so what we did is we had our surveyors overlay that delineation onto our existing conditions plan. And we were able to compare our delineation, which was at the edge of fill or the edge of wetland currently. We were able to compare that and determine exactly how much wetland fill might have occurred between 2000 and now. And so based on that comparison, we did determine that wetland fill had occurred. And the applicant understands that this would represent a wetland violation because it occurred after the establishment of the Wetlands Protection Act. They have requested that we try to find a solution that would meet performance standards and satisfy the commission and DEP, while also requesting to permit that constructed tennis court in its existing location. And so we did submit this notice of intent to you all to request to permit that tennis court. And under this notice of intent, we are proposing to restore the wetland boundary back to that 2000 delineation in all areas on site except for underneath the tennis court. And so that would look like 1,941 square feet of wetland restoration. And that will result in the permanent fill of 824 square feet of bordering vegetated wetlands. And so to mitigate for that, we are proposing wetland replication to replace the wetland that was lost. And that would be 1,863 square feet, and that's in addition to that wetland restoration. The wetland replication ratio is 2.25 to 1 for a total of 3,804 square feet of wetland returned back to the site or created new on the site. We did prepare a wetland replication and restoration protocol that was submitted in the notice of intent package. The area of the proposed wetland replication is currently developed with an existing garden and shed. And it also has an area of invasive vegetation such as honeysuckle, multiflora rose, and bittersweet vines. And so under the restoration and replication, we're going to be revegetating the area with native species, 10 saplings, 80 shrubs, and then an herbaceous seed cover mix that'll have native sedge species that was requested at the meeting in December, as well as some flowering species like swamp milkweed, blue flag iris, Joe Pye weed, fox sedge, lurid sedge, hop sedge, and others. And that species list is included in that protocol. And then the shrubs would be winterberry, highbush blueberry, and others. The applicant's also proposing a fence at the edge of the tennis court to protect that replication area in perpetuity, as well as signage that indicates no dumping allowed beyond that to warn any future property owners of the protected resource area. Also in the notice of intent package, we did a very thorough analysis of the riverfront area performance standards. So to summarize some of the pertinent ones, the lot was created in 2000. So an alternatives analysis was provided, and as we discussed in the analysis and discussed at the meeting in December, all of the alternatives are impractical, infeasible, or extremely expensive for the applicant to take, and ultimately would not result in a significant reduction in alteration in the riverfront. We also analyzed the 10% riverfront area threshold for lots created after the Rivers Act. And so this subject lot has about 90,000 square feet of riverfront area on the lot. It's about 2 acres in size. And so we're altering about 7,500 square feet, it's on the plan here, of riverfront area. We're altering 7,579, which is about 8.5% on this subject parcel. And then we also analyzed the original parcel of the 3-lot subdivision, and that was about 4.8% of the riverfront area. And then we also looked at the provision that asks for an average width of 100 feet of undisturbed vegetation in the inner riparian zone. And so we're providing over 100 feet on the entirety of the property, except for one small corner right here. There's about 17 square feet of alteration, and that's about 97 feet away from the river. So if you average the area to the west of the site, that's a 200-foot undisturbed area of riverfront area that will be protected by the project. And then when you combine that with the replication and restoration areas, we're looking at over 130 feet of undisturbed vegetation on this side. So it averages to be greater than 100 feet, which is, in our opinion, an equivalent protection. We also analyzed bordering land subject to flooding. That is in the report as well. And based on the 100-year flood profile, there's very minimal bordering land subject to flooding on the site. We looked at the 2000 plan, and that had that 430 elevation contour. And so there was only a very minimal amount of BLSF that was like right here. So we're proposing a wetland replication area in the area of BLSF, so that's going to lower the grades, and that's going to create additional flood storage in that area. And then lastly, we're proposing erosion control barriers at the limit of work to protect the existing wetland. And we did receive the DEP file number, and they had no comments.
Good. Emily?
My only question would be in regards to the BLSF And none of the work that occurred was within that resource area, or was there fill in BLSF?
Yeah, let me pull up the thing now. Just to compare. So, there's actually more VLSF on the site than there was previously. So can I approach? Yeah. So this was the existing plan here with the wetland delineation here. And then that's the floodplain elevation at 430 feet. So this would be the area of VLSF on the site. And then so the wetland boundaries from 2000 and now, this is the only area where it does actually line up. So that indicates that there wasn't BVW fill here, or VLSF fill here. And then there's actually an additional area here. But in this whole area where there was VLSF, we're proposing the wetland replication. So that's gonna pull the grades back, lower it, and then add flood storage.
Is it at a ratio that's kind of like 1-to-1 as to what was lost, or?
It's gonna be definitely greater than 1-to-1, for sure.
No further questions?
Diane,
Oh, no, I don't have anything.
Bob,
The only question I have is the fence you're gonna put across there. That's not gonna go anymore into the wetlands. That's gonna go, I know you said you had a lot of space on the sidewalk behind, there was like a space between the actual, is it gonna be bored into that concrete so it's not affecting the wetlands any closer?
So we do have a little strip between the wall and the replication area, and it's gonna go right in that strip between the wetland and the wall.
Same kind of question. What's the fence material?
I don't think we have a plan yet for that. We're definitely open to whatever you guys would
Is
require.
it to keep anything out or just to mark it? Because you could maybe do a split rail or something, but.
Yeah,
I mean,
probably.
we obviously would usually prefer like boulders or something, but you're limited in the amount of real estate you have.
Yeah, there's
Um,
probably not room for
So
boulders.
I don't
but-
know if you could put split rails in, but.
I would say split rail fence to be ungated so you can't access that area.
I'm just saying chain link is a little bit more, keeps things from flowing.
I
through.
think chain link would be great. It's gonna be a tennis court, so that's gonna prevent the
Okay.
balls from
Yeah,
going
yeah,
into
that
the
would be
wetland, so
so you would prefer probably the chain link then?
you okay
Okay.
with chain link? Okay.
No more questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily want to see a vinyl fence just because it would be a huge, like, barrier for habitat, and then it would also be a very odd visual effect.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was like a solid vinyl. That's what I was kind of getting at. It didn't sound.
Chain link is.
Yeah, a chain link, I think, would be.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think we're metal for that, definitely.
Like a 4-foot high chain link fence?
Yeah.
Are you okay with that? 4-foot chain link?
Is the proposal for the replication areas to install, like plugs or plants, or is it to seed?
Seed mix. I have the exact planting species in here. It's New England wetland plants, wetland seed mix. It's just, we find that the seed will take a little bit better than the plugs, but if that's something you guys would want to see, we could definitely propose something.
Seed seems to work well.
Yeah, sometimes, we've seen it kind of run both ways. In kind of high impact areas, it will take a little longer for a seed mix to grow. It might be a condition of, like, if you're not seeing that a seed mix is growing quite as quickly as you'd like, we could add some plugs just to really get her going.
Definitely. I mean, we're going to be monitoring it for 2 years and providing those reports. That's in our replication protocol. So if we find that there's not that 75% of vegetation covered, we can definitely propose some additional plantings.
I might recommend a special condition that you increase that time to maybe 3 years, just to make sure that, because sometimes you'll get the growing years the first year, and that, like, the second you plant, the year has started, and that doesn't really feel like you're giving them any chance to grow. So I might recommend a special condition related to increasing that to 3 years of monitoring. And then I'd also recommend a special condition related to a deed restriction, so that there's not any additional riverfront area impacts.
So we are altering only 8.5%.
Okay.
So we're not at that 10% threshold. That would be my only concern about the deed restriction.
Yeah. There is, well, my only counter to that is that there is area outside of the riverfront area that is available, and we have historically seen that not used for development so far, so, yeah, I don't know if we might limit it to 10%, we might also consider another condition that does obviously prevent additional development within that area. Obviously, the fencing and the signage will help to go that way. I would also recommend to the commission that we see what the signage will look like, or discussion of what the commission would like to see on that signage, so that it does present what the commission would like it to. I'm not seeing the 100-foot line on this. Am I just missing that? There's a lot of lines there.
Yeah, 100-foot riverfront?
Yeah, no, the 100-foot BBW line. Well, because I see 200 off the brook, and the shed is falling outside of that. Okay, it's not.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, we can add that off of the replication, replicated wetland.
Yeah, including what the new wetland, it might be good to see what the new wetland lines will be with the replicated areas added on, just so we have an idea of what that distance to, what the proposed minimal distance to the wetlands will be, and what will be the limit of that 100 feet.
So
It might
the new
help with-
buffer zone line, and then the new wetland line would be,
Yeah, obviously, I think the new wetland line would be a little
Yeah, we can-
easier to understand.
we can make it more bold to make it more obvious. The ones for-
That might be helpful for, as we went back in time to see what previous developments were.
Yeah.
It'll be helpful for future developments.
That makes sense. New. I agree.
I think that's all of the comments I
Are
have.
you all set?
Yep.
Are you okay if we close this?
With the conditions.
I think there would be extensive conditions related to getting a new plan set, but yeah,
It would be all right?
yes, it's a commission would be amenable to receiving those after the fact.
Well, it's all up.
Are any other questions from the audience? Any questions from the commission? So I guess if there are none, we can close this. And we're gonna condition it, so you'll have to, if you don't close, then we'll be back.
Sounds great. Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
Have a
Thank you.
great night.
Yep.
We have another new public hearing. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of general laws, chapter 131, section 40 of the town of Shrewsbury wetlands bylaw. That Susan Adams, on behalf of Susan Adams, living with us, 66 Gold Street, Shrewsbury, has filed for an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation for bordering vegetated wetland and riverfront area of 90 Gold Street.
Okay, Doug, I think we can hear you. Can you hear us now?
You may be coming through your computer.
Can you hear
I
me?
can, yes.
That is,
Can you hear
the
us?
voice from above is very loud. Okay, let me get you pulled up, Doug, and then play. Pause now. Where am I now? There we go. We'll start with the pretty pictures.
Sure.
Is he going to be able to hear us?
Could you hear that when Chris talked to you, Doug?
I heard something.
All right, so just tell him to state his name and
You may have a question.
Doug, if you could state your name and,
Yes, so Doug Dillon, from Gardner Consulting, representing the applicant Sarah Foley for this property here at 90 Cherry Street for an ANRAD filing. So we have, this is subdivided off of a larger lot. So if any of you tried to look at it on Mass Mapper, you might not have seen it yet. So this is lot 3. It does have an address. It is all totally set. It's just not on Mass Mapper yet. So it's going to be 90 Cherry Street rather than 70, which is what we'll see if you look it up. So it's going to be 1.4 acres, and this whole property used to be kind of like a what they used to breed trout for like the Department of Fish and Wildlife, I guess, in the 70s, 80s, 90s. And so there's a agricultural old pond kind of abutting this property. And, yep, there you go. So really on this actual subject lot, we only have a few wetland flags, but the property owner wanted the ANRAD to verify. So it's on property, they are going from approximately B7 to B19, so only 12, and then the buffer zone cast from another 2 to 3 on either side of that. We also do have a perennial stream off property casting the outermost portion of the riverfront area onto this subject lot. So we're going to be looking to confirm that as well. Aaliyah sent me over a finalized peer review proposal from Ecotech just this morning, I believe. I did send that over to the property owner, and they said that's all well and good, so we're going to be signing off on that shortly and starting that peer review process. But in the meantime, I'm happy to answer any further questions about the property and kind of the lot was relatively straightforward, very small lot.
Doug, when was this delineated? What time of year?
well, when was the,
When was it delineated?
Yes.
Yup, so that would be, I think it's even stamped in my photos in that ANRAD, December 23rd of 2025.
Right.
So that was thankfully right before we got any amount of snow, and the ground's still soft enough to get some nice little samples. So the actual wetland, for the most part, is a pretty well-defined bank from that agricultural trout pond. And the vegetation on site was pretty easy to determine where and when it stopped.
I believe we have a moratorium, right?
And I did send in the waiver request on that with the ANRAD, I believe.
Right, I don't know if we would grant that.
well, with the peer review, there would be an opportunity to kind of, to go through.
The peer review, you'll look at all the wetlands, all the flags, not just what's on this lot, correct?
Yeah, I would imagine that they would look at all of, so typically an ORAD would be issued for what was flagged. They would do a review to make sure that no wetlands were obviously missed and are not going to be flagged accordingly. And so the line may be altered
Correct.
as necessary if additional wetlands are located in the field.
But I just want to make sure that it's not just the flag B7 to B19 he's going to look at. He's going to look at all the flags.
Off the property edge, okay.
Because if we're affirming, we're not just affirming flag B7 to B19. We're affirming.
No, we typically, yeah, we would go. So
Yeah.
anything that's issued in the order, and the order can specifically stipulate that, like, only B7 through B19 is located on the property. Those are the only things that are being confirmed. The peer review would go through the process of going through that whole thing, so we would be able to confirm that whole line, whether or not it is occurring on the property. But ORADs can be kind of funny.
Yeah, so with this being a subdivided lot, I mean, we can definitely do the full extent of delineated line. But Lita, if you go to some of our ortho photos in that document, I believe, one up. Yeah, right there. Oh, no, you got it. There you go. This is a pretty monstrous property with a variety of wetlands on the larger, non-subdivided part, right? So I only delineated anything that would be relevant to that, which is boxed in here. So that's that perimeter of that pond along the, what will be, you know, the northern edge of the parcel there, as well as it's a little tough to see on that aerial, but the riverfront is, kind of right below the text for the Whitman series soil right there on that. So that's kind of where the river begins, I guess. So we'll be looking to confirm the B series wetland line in the river immediately.
As long as he does it after the moratorium is up, right?
Yeah,
And I believe it's that April 15th.
yeah, so they should be able to,
As long as
yeah,
he runs it after that, I think he'll be okay.
yeah. We should be able to get an idea. Yeah, I'm not sure if you heard that, Doug, related to running the peer review process after the moratorium has ended. So that would be waiting until April 15 to conduct it, a visit.
Is there any chance we could, your next, yeah, that's right before your next meeting, isn't
Yes.
it? 21st?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, just as long as I would like to ideally have that in hand by then, just to kind of not have a month in between of just waiting. But yeah, that's fine in that case.
Well, we do have a bylaw that specifically states that these can't be delineated within that time frame. So unless we give a waiver, and I don't know if we've ever given a waiver for that. So that's probably what we're gonna ask you to do, okay?
Yeah, yep, I heard you that time. Yes, yep.
Okay. Emily, do you have any questions?
No questions for me.
Diane,
No.
Bob,
No questions?
Chris,
Nope, I know.
Aaliyah?
Yeah, I would just note again that, yeah, any wetlands that are not included in this delineation or within the peer review process can be excluded from the order that is issued.
Okay. So after the review, then the next meeting, we'll figure out what we're going to come out of.
Yes. Historically, when we have done a peer review process through Ecotech, they have, Ecotech will typically request that they kind of flag to as far as you can flag, so that more flagging is documented on site. Sometimes the applicant is amenable to that, sometimes the applicant is not, and it just kind of, that's where it falls in terms of the limitations on the order that is issued.
Understood.
Other than that, I have no questions.
Sound good?
All right, so you'll be continuing this hearing to our next meeting, which would be April 21st, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
All right, we will see you then. Thank you. All right.
Then do we have anybody on from 41?
Is there anybody on the line for 45 Ladies Drive, RDA? No.
I don't think Doug is here for that. Okay.
Okay. All right. New old business?
So we have one that we closed, one was a no-show. I think that's right. Okay, continue.
All right, so the only one we can vote on is, I believe, 124 Memorial Drive. Is that
Right.
correct?
Yeah, I have several conditions, so Malia's ready.
Yeah.
Make sure we get these correct.
All right, so we're going to,
We discussed, I guess we discussed for a second, because we discussed a 3-year monitoring replication period instead of for monitoring rather than 2.
Yeah, I've seen several come through where it's just, they planted it, immediately we're like, okay, wetlands look great. And then a year later,
That's what,
they're done. But that's the last time that they look at them.
we want to condition the fence material. I don't want it to be solid vinyl fencing, as I was concerned about.
they were amenable to 4-foot high chain link fence.
And then just wording on the signage, we had discussed that there should be specific wording?
You could say wetland habitat, no dumping or filling, or no filling, or is there something else somebody would like to say?
The dump and fill sounds good. Just make sure this is wetland habitat.
Yeah.
No dumping or filling.
Yeah, wetland resource area or wetland habitat.
So we'll say wetland resource area, no dumping.
Yeah, we might include, sometimes commissions will have, we'll call out specifically their commission, so it might say Shrewsbury, per Shrewsbury Conservation Commission or per,
The bylaws,
yeah.
section 131.
Yeah, you can throw the whole thing on, like, per Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section Law and Wetland Town Bylaw. But it gets a bit mouthy
Yeah.
and hard to
I think-
discern on the signage, so you can just say per Shrewsbury Conservation,
It
or
does
just
make it sound more.
Shrewsbury Conservation Commission somewhere on there, so it's,
Does
you know
make it
why.
sound- Makes it sound more serious.
So the signage will read, wetland resource area, no dumping per order of Shrewsbury Conservation Commission.
That's fine. with me.
Great.
And then, Lee, you mentioned specifically about the resource impact, the riverfront impact exceeding 8.5%. Like are you concerned that it's going to exceed 10%, that extra 1.5%?
We can include a deed restriction for up to 10%. Obviously, that wouldn't, like, any additional
So that's unconditional.
disturbance, they would need to come before it. I don't know if we would want to set a limitation to 8.5%. Obviously, my concern is just related to the enforcement of them being like, oh, we already have all this disturbance, let's do more. Which has happened in the past, and I wouldn't want to see happen again. I imagine the current homeowners have learned a lesson at this stage. But yeah, I don't know what the commission would be amenable to in terms of limiting additional jazz.
I just wonder, like, if she fully, like, understood the deed restriction portion of her permit. Because I don't know if we delved into that too much. And it is like a deed restriction. It's not something that's, like, small or to be, you know, willy-nilly.
Tinkered with, yeah.
Yeah.
We have issued deed restrictions in the past where folks are kind of meeting their true outward bound of that 10% or that 5,000 square feet. We don't necessarily want to limit their additional 2.5 or 1.5 percentages, but it also, you don't have to develop all 10% of all of your riverfront area. So if the commission did want to be like, okay, no more, like, you have the world, you have your house, you have your tennis court, you have everything you could possibly need. You don't need any more than 8.5% of your riverfront area developed.
Can we make that a condition on this
That's-
order?
Yeah, we've issued deed restrictions before, and it'll
Well-
just be altering the language to reflect.
We can put it as a condition, there's no more operation beyond what's already been done, and then just, they're gonna record the order,
Yeah,
and that gets
in
recorded.
lieu of a deed restriction, having
Yeah.
something that's like no additional alteration should occur. Okay.
All right, that okay?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that works.
Got that.
Yes, I got it.
And then,
I think so. And then the last one we had on there was, you showing the new plan showing the new boundary lines, the buffer zones.
Yes, yeah, because they currently
Okay.
don't have the 100-foot buffer
That's the one that's a bit squishy, because you're.
on here at all.
We're
Yeah.
gonna issue.
We have received plans after the fact, after the close of a hearing before.
Okay,
It just obviously gets to a point where it's like, how much stuff are you adding to a plan
the
before
only
it's.
thing they're gonna add is the 100-foot buffer zone, which
Yeah.
doesn't change, doesn't affect anything, that's.
They were planning to add the new buffer lines with that, so with the restored and replicated wetland area, they were gonna add what the new buffer areas will be.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I don't know if we would wanna also see that they add the proposed landscaping or the proposed replication species to the plan.
should we condition it upon you receiving this plan before they get any work?
Yeah, because I would wanna reference the revised plan in the order of conditions.
Okay, so, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we get to an order of conditions with the condition that a fence be installed at the edge of the wetland of chain link material with signage to read wetland dumping, resource area, resource area, no dumping per order by Shrewsbury Conservation Commission. Condition that the monitoring be increased to 3 years as opposed to 2 for the replication area, and that we issue a condition that the riverfront impact area not exceed 10%, and that we receive new plans showing the new buffer zone before work begins, submitted to the town staff.
Sorry, 8.5% or 10%?
Yeah, 8.5%.
8.5%, sorry. 8.5% rather than 10%.
Any discussion? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Discuss and sign certificates of compliance.
I would only recommend that one of the certificates of compliance be issued tonight. The other two, I've not had the opportunity to go do site visits for. The first certificate of compliance, 285-0003, is clearly very old. This was for the construction of, the construction of a parking area and drainage area at 66 Main Street and what is now the 104 Main Street parcel on the south, across from Gouch Park, that large section of parcels. It obviously it will be, Emily, I might speak to you or look to you about which might be checked off of the certificate of compliance, because they obviously have completed the parking lot area. When they proposed this project in the 70s, they had proposed to install stormwater drainage infrastructure as well, just like probably like a basin. They did not do that. Obviously, they're not going to do that now. So I don't know if it would be invalid and complete.
Why?
I wouldn't want to issue a partial because I want this to be done.
So have you talked to the owner at all, or?
I have talked to their lawyer.
Okay. And did you go out there?
I went out there a couple of months ago because they had filed a request for determination of applicability to determine if there were resource areas on site, because they were proposing to do a 40B project there at this point. The project, the results of the request for determination of applicability were that there were no, that there were no jurisdictional areas on site. There is a small isolated vegetated wetland. This is not the correct site. So as you can see, and they haven't done anything on the site since I was out there. We had that request for determination of applicability peer reviewed because it was a request to delineate, to determine if there are resource areas on the site. At that stage, Art went out with, Doug Dillon was actually the wetland scientist for that project as well. Art went out with him. They found a small non-jurisdictional IBW at the north section of the site right here, in this vegetated area. Because it was non-jurisdictional, there were no resource areas on site. So whatever was there in the 70s, I'm not sure if it was filled as part of this process or was an IBW and wasn't classified as such at the time.
Are they planning to submit a new notice of intent, or?
Because they are otherwise they are outside of resource areas. Without that IBW, with that non-jurisdictional IBW, and it's non-jurisdictional under our bylaw as well. So they don't anticipate submitting a notice of intent because they're outside of the Lakewood Sigamond buffer. For
Did the 40Bs go through, is it the zoning board?
yes,
And so, and do we have well, it wouldn't count I'm thinking for stormwater. Because they were supposed to construct a basin, they never did.
yeah.
So I guess it wouldn't it doesn't really matter.
I think when they go through the zoning board of appeals process, that is, they put out an all call to all departments to be like, hey, does anyone have any comments that should be considered for this? Because it is a 40B project, they kind of went above the town obviously has a stormwater bylaw and a pretty intensive stormwater permitting process. Because it's a 40B, it doesn't really go through that process. I think there were stormwater considerations made through the zoning board of appeal process and submitted by our stormwater coordinator. But yes, I do, yeah, they currently do not have any formal stormwater mitigation on site.
If they didn't construct it in accordance with the order that was presented, we can't give them a certificate, so I wouldn't give them one. Say we can't give you one, it wasn't, they're not in compliance. Or prove to us how you are.
Yeah,
I wouldn't just give it to them right now.
I'm thinking that they have to redevelop the property. Or because they built a parking lot and they never built stormwater infrastructure.
yeah,
So we can't, I mean, it's not in compliance with that original permit.
yeah,
So,
yeah, it is kind of at a partial stage.
But that'll be on the deed too. That should be on, right in the deed, it was something you did there, right?
Yeah. And I was able to find the original plan sets for the project. I went digging through the archives. And
you
it
found
was,
that?
yeah, this was number 3. This was way back there. But we have exceptional archives. They are very well documented. We had phenomenal admin in the 70s also. But they did note that.
Where would the basin technically?
They had proposed stormwater infrastructure. Oh, it's on this page. Okay, sorry. I'm trying to, oh, good gravy. I don't want to do that. Okay. They had proposed stormwater infrastructure at the south, basin at the south end of the site. It looks like, let me see if I actually have those plans. It looks like there was maybe, while there are plans, they are limited. So it does look like there was maybe a wetland right here in the middle. Let me see if I have the associated plan sets for that project. Go back. Huzzah. Okay. So this is obviously sideways. That to the north would be Main Street, and then to the south would be, as noted, 290. This very, very, very faint lettering is indicated as standing water, this little section, and then I'm not sure what they denoted this large yellow section to be. But they had proposed to install stormwater infrastructure at the south of here. I must have another
So
plan.
plain right,
Huh?
the right of the plan.
Yeah. Yeah, on the south.
Old vintage.
Yeah, I mean, if it was never done, how come we can say it was done? So I would say, yeah, we can't do it.
That's
But
fair.
they can come back to us and prove it to us otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah, otherwise we would have to issue a partial and then it wouldn't really be closed out.
Yeah. Let them come back with something.
And I'm not sure if the water is moved around site or if they just did not do a super stellar job of delineating the wetland, because the existing IVW is close to up here. And then obviously historically this was standing water, so whatever that means for a wetland delineation.
Well, I wonder if did they fill it in?
That's what I was
Oh, yeah, that's
Oh, that's all filled,
That's
that's
all.
Yeah, and then so they filled it in and now,
50 years ago.
yeah. But now they're gonna redevelop it.
Yeah, so let's leave it at
Hold
that.
on that.
Let them come back to you and let them solve it.
That sounds good.
And then you don't have to waste a lot of time on it, but it's not up to you.
Perfect. Yeah.
You still have 45.
There's a name.
It's like a third or fourth time that Johnson.
So, do you want to continue the RDA one more time, and then?
45 baby, yeah, I will see, I did reach out to them, I will see if they would like to, I don't think he, so the applicant had reached out to me regarding the property owner reached out to me and was like, hey, we know we did the sewer work without a permit, it's already done though, can I just give you the fee and not do the whole application process? I explained that that is not how that works. If we might implement after the fact conditions similar to how we've done other projects like that. And it would just be good to have something on record that says, yeah, you installed sewer line within the buffer zone and it went through the process. I have not heard back from the applicant since then. I've reached out.
When was that?
That was before the February meeting.
Okay.
I had provided the next couple of deadlines and dates for meetings, and I've not heard back from them. It sounds like the tree work guy understandably did not want to get involved at all in the sewer process, and the property owner did not really want to like smush them together into one application. So they need to figure out what they wanted to do. They're also, I think the property owner lives in like Oklahoma or something, so it's a tough time to.
Well, ask him if he doesn't, we'll have to, the only other thing was enforcing it.
Right.
Yeah.
At this point.
So we'll give him one more
And
chance.
so this had initially resulted, we had already been aware of the problem because we had issued a notification of violation letter being like, hey, what is this digging in your yard for? So that was what that was.
Okay.
Bob, were there any discussions that you wanted to have about the Half Moon culvert thing, or?
Yeah, I mean, I received a call from someone on the Lake Commission, Mr. Liberty, regards to possibly oil coming out behind Half Moon Tavern, again, which we had a problem last year with. Had pictures of it. I did see a small amount of oil, but actually, a couple days before, actually went out under the bridge towards my property.
Mm-hmm.
I went over and looked at it. The water actually came up. The water was starting to move pretty quick because we'd had a big melt off, some rain. I didn't see any oil at that point. There was a lot of that sewage that went in there, so you could see all the brown tear that was there. Once again, the water was moving quickly. I'm not sure what happened with that.
Yeah.
There was no, at that point, I couldn't see any oil. We're looking at it. Got the brush back. We did look at it. It looks pretty good still. So.
Okay.
So the sewerage was allegedly from the city of Worcester, had a sewage main break.
Yeah, at the intersection of
Sunderland Road and 20.
Sunderland and Route 20.
Where they're doing the construction, or unrelated, or?
It was up the main broke. One of the lines, so main broke.
One of the
Yeah,
new
I'm not
force lanes.
sure what it was related to. That occurred in January. I reached out to their town engineer, cause I know Andy well, to figure out what was going on there. And he said that they had gone out to fix it. They had responded to the call that a sewer line had broken within a couple of hours. They were able to divert most of the flow. However, that works somewhere else. And then they fixed it, I think, a few weeks later, the rest of the line. So I've heard conflicting reports, though, related to how quickly it was fixed and what was continuing to flow and what was going on from various folks, from various residents in the area and from the city of Worcester. So
I guess I'll have to get out there, but I'd be interested because what you had sent me pictures and they were like, it looked bad.
yeah, I think that area also, it's obvious, as noted by, Katie Liming, who runs the Lakes and Ponds program for the city of Worcester, also responded to the call. She did a pretty intensive site visit and took a lot of pictures of a lot of the area. This area kind of come up, there was an order of conditions filed in 2024 or 2025 for Route 20 to be improved by Mass DOT to improve a lot of the stormwater infrastructure through there. And we had kind of had a lot of conditions and a lot of concern about that, the Half Moon area and the culvert to the south of it, because it is kind of a historically very well developed and very forgotten about area. It sounds like a lot of sedimentation has kind of occurred over the years, but because it is somewhat of a forgotten area, there's not a whole lot of formal scientific documentation of like, this is how much sediment has accumulated, or this is what it looks like 10 years ago and 5 years ago and this year and 20 years ago. So it's been funny.
So is that area, it's MassDOT then?
Yes, yeah. I think they have an easement behind the plaza that is existing there because they're planning to install a very small outfall area to catch a lot of, because the part of the proposal that was for the order of conditions that was issued was a boatload of catch basins would be installed along Route 20 to kind of slow a lot of the flooding that occurs. There's like an overpass that's well into Route 20 that causes like really wicked deep flooding when you get good storms. So they were trying to alleviate some of that by installing additional stormwater infrastructure to kind of hold that water and chill it out before it makes its way to the pond. But yeah, the final outfall was like a small little catchment area and then straight to the pond. So.
And was there something about sediment, or is that
Yes,
something?
what happened is, it is a 36-inch pipe that comes out behind that, and they put an additional second pipe side by side there, and so they're gonna run double pipes into it. They're gonna have a culvert with stone, supposedly gonna slow the water down before it goes into the lake. But there's so much sediment, I mean, over the years, probably the entire thing choked off. I mean, the
Right.
water doesn't flow through hardly at all anymore because of this.
Right.
You know, and it's documented, you can see it online, it's been documented for years. It was, you could drive boats through there, now you can't put a paddleboard through there.
So
They were proposing to do some, Mass DOT was not prepared to commit to a lot in terms of scientific study of the area. They were going to submit something related to the sediment, but I'm not really sure how far I'm not specifically recalling how far we got with them in terms
was
of
it
like,
part of like the permit or something?
yeah, it was a special condition in the permit that they submit.
Especially
yeah.
if it's.
Yeah, part of the condition, part of the limitation of the condition was that we needed to specifically ask for all of that documentation.
They'll be starting that.
So
They're gonna be starting that soon.
they are. They also were supposed to, Andy had reached out to me to be like, hey, I noticed no one from Shrewsbury was on any of those calls. And I was in contact with their staff to get added to those pre-con calls and as they're giving updates, but they have not added me as yet. So I need to email them again
Yeah.
to ask, please very much, could I be on those calls?
I do know they did some measurements last year in the summertime in the lake, and where they had, used to be 28 feet, is now 12 feet off onto the north side of the bridge on Route 20. So it's actually dropped down considerably, but it filled it all back flowing. Heavy rain, it's just like a plume of mud that comes out into that cove all the time, just keeps coming out from the other side, because it can't go south, it goes north.
Yeah.
Right.
Weren't they gonna do a core sample into that to find out what it's made up out of, to see where it's coming from?
There was a lot of discussion about the sediment there. I'm not super sure on where we fell finally on what MassDOT was committing to do for the project. LQC had come to that meeting and did have valid concerns about the sedimentation that has occurred in the area, because there are like anecdotal tales of you being able to get a whole like boat through there, and now you can hardly get a paddle board or a kayak through there.
Yeah, part of the discussion was they're going to do some catch basins along the entire route of that drain line. On the existing lines, the existing line is going to stay in service, so they're gonna put some catch basins on those. And they said they would look into studying that, the delta that's been forming there over the years. So-
They might have proposed to do a dredge feasibility study. They definitely didn't commit to doing actual dredging,
Correct.
but they might have considered doing at least a feasibility study.
Yeah, I mean, I would bother them to
Yep.
look at that again, because
Yeah.
it's their road.
Yeah.
And that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I was gonna ask about, actually two things. So the Route 20 project, where they're at Sunderland Road and Route 20, they're starting there, I guess, or?
They start at 122. Grafton Street, what's it starting there, and then the pipe comes down from there back all the way to the lake.
Okay. I saw like excavators and
That's the
stuff.
That's a
force
sewer,
main.
that was a sewer.
Oh.
That's the force main that's broken.
Oh, okay.
Yep,
Hmm.
that's totally separate.
And that right lane's just gonna stay
Well,
closed?
they actually, they've let it up, they've actually paved over, they fixed it now. But
Okay.
when that broke, they, like you said, they shut it down, but that continuously put sewage out for a couple weeks nonstop, because it was all the backfeeding for it, it was backfeeding all the way from the hill and Worcester, like up where Mac Road, so all the way back, all that sewage is continuing to run backwards and come out into the storm drain there, which goes into the lake.
So,
Right. Anything else?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that these are
And I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.